Near the eastern end of the Pyrenees, which separate France from Spain, rises the lofty Canigou, symbol of the ardent independence of the Catalans who inhabit the region. Down at the foot of the mountain, in a fertile valley, is the little French Catalan village of Prades, P.O., the department of Pyrenees-Orientales. With its ancient church dominating the square, in appearance and character, it is like so many other towns in this part of the world. What distinguishes it from all other towns throughout the world is that in a tiny apartment on the upper floor of a gatekeeper's house lives Pablo Casals. Shielding himself against the sun, he goes on his daily errands and is warmly greeted by the townspeople. They are proud of le maître, the master, as they reverently call him. They know his story, that he was born near Barcelona in 1876, and enamored of music from his earliest years, played the violin, the organ, and the piano. That he then found the instrument for which he was destined, the cello. And in time, as his concerts took him from city to city, the world echoed his praises. He was called the best who draws a bow, the greatest living musician. Many said he is as well the greatest interpreter of Bach. And they know that his remarkable career was interrupted by the Spanish Civil War. For since his belief in democracy and humanity is as unshakable as his belief in music itself, he would no longer make Spain his home. And with many other Spanish refugees, he came to this town over the border. And here he lives, in self-imposed exile, taking his daily walks, talking with his many friends, helping the needy refugees, and working, which means teaching and playing. Teaching occupies much of his daily life. Pupils coming from as far as Tokyo and Hong Kong to study with him. And he always welcomes former pupils who return to the master to play for him and get fresh inspiration. Here, a young American artist, Madeline Foley, is playing for him the first movement of Bach's Fifth Suite, the one in C minor.
There is something to be said.
Don't you think it's too slow, a little slow?
Well,
I felt
it's not a question of tempo. It's a question of precipitating. Sometimes, for instance, here. I don't want here. Oh, this edition, I don't see things.
Well, let's start again from the beginning.
I exaggerate expressly just to have you seen that
Well,
this
it wasn't
gives-
free enough.
Yes,
huh?
right, yes. In this particular place, this way. Oh. See, this gives movement. But I love the way that you began. Very, very beautiful. Good. I love it. Would you like to play it again?
Well, shall we play some together?
Oh, no.
I was playing too slow. I
You
feel
see?
it. I feel it. I was too
Yes,
slow,
huh?
yeah. I mean, it must walk, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And then?
Straight solo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3.
Yes. I know, I wouldn't count. I wouldn't count. It's better to just what you feel. Don't count, because it is a...
It's a recitativo,
Yeah,
but...
All those intervals, these it must be from inside, not from what you are looking at the music.
Well, I don't mean to play that, but
Yeah.
these notes, the 16th sometimes have expression of their own.
Yes, of course. But
How do you know when to...
yes, but don't think too much. Just feel it. No? Yes, I would advise you not to forget that a long trill, if when the trill ends, to accentuate the note. This is my feeling. I don't know if it is right, but I feel that it is right. So,
No.
it's cold, you see, so.
How about another bow on that note?
Yeah, go on.
Teaching and playing. Up the valley towards the Canigou stands the 1,000-year-old abbey of Saint Michel de Cuxa. Casals holds it in deep affection, and here he plays from time to time. For while he has given up the thought of concert tours, he has never stopped practicing, and, as he says modestly, continues to make progress. Greeted by his good friend, the Père Abbé, Casals, 77 years of age, and still at the height of his powers, arrives to play. He has chosen the G major suite, the first of the 6 suites for unaccompanied cello by Bach, having raised them from obscurity by the simplicity and warmth of his playing. He has made them particularly his own. They have become his musical Bible.
Hey, Tom Accordion. I had to kick over into the Twitch. Give me 1 second, everybody, while I get the chats up. There we go. All right. Accordion. All right. It's okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I got the audio set, I think. All right, we'll interrupt Master Pablo Casals in the middle of his Bach cello suite. That's so cool. I wasn't aware that he is the musician to popularize those, only in the 20th century, and make them super famous. Those Bach cello suites that we just take for granted. Everyone's heard that. Welcome to the stream. I'm in the same setup that I was last time, which doesn't mean much to you all. I don't know why every time I feel like I have to start with this. I guess it's just wrestling an alligator every time. Trying to get this thing to work right. The easy solutions aren't good, and the good solutions aren't easy. How do they do it? All those Twitch streamers. Anyways, I'm looking forward to today's live stream. It's going to be, it should be pretty cool. What I would like to do, what I endeavor to do, is make it kind of practical and to put on the accordion and to apply some of these ideas. Where's my Chiron here? Oh yeah, here it is. Let's see, how do I get to it? There we go. We need. Ta-da! Oh, hang on. Gotta adjust that. No. I think the neighbor, I don't know if you guys hear that. I think somebody in one of the neighboring houses is like doing some sanding outside today on their front porch. So, I don't know if that's picking up through. Anyway, I decided to title today's stream this title, The Profound Importance of Dynamics. Because as I was reading through chapter 2 for the book club, where's my copy of the book? Over here. One moment. As I was reading through it, I was struck at what seems to me, as it's explained and connects to the other information in me, the profound importance of dynamics, that they are, what's the quote in there in the book? Elemental, which really that's lacking a definition. That's something the author put in. It's not a direct quote from Pablo Casals. Elemental, I suppose. But yeah, okay. Elemental in the sense I understand, in this kind of idea that the 4 basic elements make up the world, right? So it's one of those. It is one of the fundamental things dynamics are. And it's also the thing that is pretty easy to understand, and it's easy to do at a very simple place. It doesn't require a lot of a large degree of sophistication, nor a large degree of technical fluency to do on very basic music. And I think it's the one, this opinion comes directly from working with Jacques Mornet and Natalie Bouchex, but it's maybe the one aspect of expression that we can and should expect from ourselves as beginners and as educators from beginners, right from the very beginning. Can you play one note? Good. Use dynamics on it. Make it do something. Make it say something dynamically. Can you play two notes? Great. Let's try some dynamic shapes on those, and so on. So, all right. With no further ado, I've been checking out a lot of Pablo Casals. What I endeavor to do today is the book, the chapter of the book is going to be sort of woven through the whole live stream today. And what I would like to do, what I hope to do, is talk about some part of the book. And hey, Driftless Don, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the live stream. But just start at the beginning of the book from the book club. Talk about the idea, and maybe listen to an example or something. And then I want to put the accordion on, and I want to start to work on these and bring up some examples that hopefully you're all familiar with or are not that new to you, and sort of show you the application of these things, which I think is very useful and pretty cool. And I'm hoping that it will promote creativity, promote an interest in doing these things yourself. So, but first, let's just listen to a little bit of beautiful music. So, I found this. I'll get into the chapter, but the whole book is filled. Every page has at least one little musical excerpt from the Romantic, Baroque, classical period music, of which the author observed Casals, rehearsing or teaching, conducting, talking about, and there's tons and tons of music. And like I said last stream, most of this music I'm not that familiar with. One of the examples is a piece by Edward Elgar. I'm going to pull that up right now. And it was really quite beautiful. And I said, well, I would love to play this on the stream. So we will come back. We'll hear this again later when we get to that part. And I'll point out specifically what phrase is used from the book. But let's just hear this piece because it's very cool. Let's see. I'm going to, I think I need to close my windows, which I'll do once it starts playing, actually. Okay, so this is the BBC Proms. What orchestra is this? The Birmingham Symphony Orchestra. And this is Edward Elgar's Cello Concerto. And I had never heard this before, and I just loved it. I'm gonna mute my mic. Okay, I'm going to kind of fade this out. All right. I'm not exactly sure where the end of that movement is. I don't know if it kind of felt like we're in a new piece now. That 9/8 theme is not there anymore. Anyway, okay. So I just thought that was a really beautiful piece, and well, we heard about the first movement, I think, of it, and there are more. It goes on for about another, I don't know, 25 minutes. All right. Well, as I said, today we're going to be talking about dynamics and threading in and out of this chapter of the book. So this chapter is called Finding the Design. And this chapter is about 50 pages long. It's much longer than the first chapter. The first chapter, to review from last week, was called The First Principle. And the first principle is talking about Casals, and if we're learning from this book, for us, to understand what we are supposed to be connecting to in the music. Like, what is this music supposed to be about, and how can we, the person performing the music, feel that also? How can we also feel that, channel that, and then let that sensibility, us plus the music, our soul plus the music, make that, and not in a hands-off way, but in a very realized way, in a way, and filled with examples of Casals feeling that, expressing that in his words and in the way he's playing, and then leading the people he's teaching or rehearsing to perform that way, or conducting. This chapter is about how Pablo Casals crafts the dynamics of these phrases. So let me open my notes here. I have a bunch, so let's see. So yeah, the chapter opens. I'll hold up the book. Give a little visual here with this quote here. Remember that all music, in general, is a succession of rainbows. And you think, oh, what does he mean by rainbows? Is that like life is a bowl of cherries or what? And then we come to understand that what Casals means by rainbows are these dynamic shapes. And let's see if I can hold one up from a little bit later. Okay, so here we have some examples of rainbows. The dashed lines are showing you these shapes. And then on this page here, some more, so you can get a sense of it. And so I'll read a few quotes from the book. So good. So Casals says, remember that all music in general is a succession of rainbows. Although only piano is written, and he's talking about a passage from Mozart piece. That is the only marking that this piece of music has is piano, and that's it. And the author is talking about, well, Casals doesn't want to play this as all one dynamic, even though that's what's there marked on the page. So Casals says that although only piano is written, we must follow the line of the music. We must find the design, and there's the title of the chapter, Finding the Design. So we find the design through the shape of the music. And this is something that I learned in my first years of college, studying piano with a great piano professor, and learning just very fundamental classical piano stuff that I had never been taught before. And that's something that she shared with me. She said, oh yeah, okay, so, and we were working on classical stuff, so Bach and some Beethoven and some Chopin, but easier stuff. And she explained this to me a long time ago. She said, yeah, as the melody goes up, the volume needs to go up. And she described it for a couple ways. She said, well, also think about it. As the notes get thinner, or as the notes get higher, the sound gets thinner also. That's another reason for it. But also that there's a certain tension. And then I think Frédéric Deschamps gave me the idea also that, as the human voice sings higher and higher, we necessarily have to make higher and higher tension. If I go, ah, da, dee, da, da, as I go up higher, to sing higher and to play higher on a fretted instrument, but connecting it to the human body, because that's who we are, right? There's more and more tension here, and with that tension, we can maybe we accentuate that one way or the other. We understand that the dynamic shape follows the melodic shape here, and so then this is sort of interspersed with some other evidence that the author finds. So he gives a few quotes, like he has a little quote from Richard Wagner's writing about Mozart. About the same piece, and Wagner says, well, as it appears, it being the music, as it appears on paper with hardly any marks of expression, compare the result. So compare the result if you played with no expression, compare that with the manner in which a true musician would feel and sing it. And you know what? I can pull up this little piece of music here. It's at the very beginning of the chapter. I think I went to the previous chapter. One moment. Here we go. Will it load? There we go. Oh, yes. Okay. And then I need to... Oh, that's all I need to do. Go here. All right. So. All right. This right here. There we have it. Okay. So, this would be the piece of music from Mozart's Symphony Number 39 in E flat major. The second movement, the Andante movement. And so what we're supposed to understand here from the book is that as the melody is going up, like if you look in the third and fourth measures, the author has written in the parentheses is the marks of the author. So the author has written the crescendo here. Da di da do da 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 do. Probably didn't sing that properly, but you get the idea. Let me play that. Okay. All right, so if we're starting down here in piano at the beginning. Right, so we want to come up. You can see that little And so we when we're making dynamics, we can use the shape of the melody as a major clue, or a major clue to form a pattern for the dynamic shape. Now, why do we need dynamic shape? Because without it, music is very, very flat. Okay, so what I want to do now is, let's see, I have to add this. No, hang on. I want to go to some really simple music here. This, for example. Okay. Let's put me in front of that. Just like that. Oh, wait, hang on. Yeah, that'll be okay. All right. We can do that. Yeah, that's good. Then I'll just sit over here. Move that. Okay. So, the best way to get into this is to take a very, very simple melody, I think. Let's see, where do we have something? Okay. How about this one? Can we see this? Put that up there. Okay. So we have 4 measures here. And you say, okay, what is the shape, right? Let's make the dynamics match the shape. So is the shape going up, or is the shape going down? And so we see from C to E that's going up, from E to G that's going up, and then from G to E that's going down again, right? So there are no dynamics written here on this piece at all. Nothing to give us any clue. There's no expression marking, there's no nothing. So the job of us as a musician, even as a beginner, in all circumstances, in all states, our job is always to add as much expression as we possibly can, you know? So if I play without expression, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, off. Okay, fine. You know, very, very much like an exercise, but an exercise that is not there's no exercising the expression. And what the thesis of this live stream's life has been, and of this book, is you should always be putting expression into stuff. So why don't we start softer? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the C get louder to go to the E, and get louder to go to the G because it's higher, and then get softer to go back to the E because that's a little lower. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's better. There's more life in that. Let's try it a little faster. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Right? We get it? There's not a whole lot of music here either, you know, a whole lot of notes. But do you understand the design, the idea of following the shape? Okay, so let's go to another one. So we go to batter up. This is an extension. There, now we can see it. So you have C, E, G, F, D, F, D, C, E, G, F, D, C, C. Maybe we want to do something like that. Yeah? So much better than C, E, G, E, F, D, F, D, right? We're still not making great art, but we're beginning to add the elements. You know, we're adding the elements on very, very simple music, which is important as a beginner, you know, obviously. So then the next step, and we'll weave this in, but I think the next step is to go back to the idea of the first chapter, which is considering what is the first principle here, right? What emotion is this music supposed to be conveying? And I very much realize that we're choosing a very silly, superficial song, you know, that was not written to convey emotion. It was written to be the second piece in a learning method. However, we can still practice this. So we can say, okay, batter up. We're given a little illustration. We're not given any, you know, allegro con moto or any sort of like dynamic expressions or emotional expressions, but we are given, we're given the phrase batter up, and we're given a little illustration of some people playing baseball. Batter up. So, you know, the options for what we could convey here are myriad. Maybe we're rooting the batter on, you know? C, E, G, E, F, D, F, D, C, E, G, E, F, D, C, C, right? So then we want to start to form an emotional idea in ourselves. What am I trying to convey? And all of this gives us much more presentness within our music. So although we are asking ourselves to do more stuff, you know, well, come on, I'm trying to get the right hand and the left hand together in the bellows, you know. But this, and then to add these other things on top of it is adding more and more. But the point is that we get more presentness, more sense of self into there, which brings us in the moment. Even for a silly song like this, it creates a purpose for it that's beyond just like, oh, I'm just trying to get through page number whatever of the Palmer Hughes method book, right? So, the proposed idea of finding the design, yeah. Okay. Now, what I also think is really, really important is creativity for anybody, you know, in the musician. So exercising our creativity. So if we think of the first principle, say, well, what the heck is this thing about? What is this song about? What is this phrase about? What is this note about? You like poetry, you know what I mean? Like you can have sort of provenance of what is normally accepted about a piece, and then you can all of a sudden someone comes out and does something totally different with it, and it's beloved or it's hated, but you know, regardless. I'm a big proponent of finding our own meaning in it, you know, and that's the most powerful thing. So, or possibilities of meaning, right? It could be about cheering somebody on. It could be about the nervousness of being up to bat, you know. Perhaps that's it. Perhaps it's this batter's first time in the minor leagues or the major leagues, or I have to take it like that because they're wearing a New York jersey, but say it's a kid, you know, and they're new to baseball or softball, and it's the nervousness there, you know. That's a whole nother emotional quality that we could put onto it. Something that is not in this chapter at all, but I think is absolutely worthwhile, is subverting this idea. The chapter 50 pages goes on and on and on about following the design, making these rainbows, where the dynamic shapes get louder and get softer. Get louder as the melody goes up in pitch and get softer as it goes down. And then there are also a lot of examples of where that doesn't happen. And that's kind of like the second half of the book, where more sophisticated things happen. And I think that's maybe not for a brand new musician, but for the purposes of this live stream, I think it's absolutely reasonable to mention that idea right now too. That there is this sort of innate, inherent logic in trying dynamics, experimenting with dynamics, and starting an experimentation, or absolutely including as one of the possibilities to see if it fits, if you like it, that idea, of following the shape. But also, let's do the reverse. So let's take the same thing and let's play where we're starting loud at the lowest note, and we're getting softer as we go up to the highest note. And as we go down again, we're going to get louder. So if I say, let's see, da, 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 right? Let's try that on the accordion. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3, 3. Now I gotta go softer. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 'Cause it's on this very, very simple piece, it's sort of hard to gauge musical success or failure because it's written like an exercise. But this does serve as a great model for me to show you this basic idea, basic chunking sort of idea. There's other things we can do with dynamics too, is we can look at phrases and we can play with applying dynamics to phrases, right? Which is not in this chapter either, because this chapter is about finding the design. They do talk about actually applying, that's not true, yeah. They do talk about applying shapes of dynamics over phrases. And so finding the sequence of phrases. So in this case, we could say that there is 4 phrases here, every 4 bars. So what if I started softer? Dum, dum, dee, dum. Little louder. Dum, 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 dum. Little louder. Dum, 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 dum. Loudest. Da, 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 dum. And a little retardando there at the end. Sorry, I hope it's not distorting. The audio is not distorting. So there's an idea also of applying this idea of change in dynamics, dynamic variation. And in this case, it doesn't have to do with the melody, but it has to do with the overall piece and creating a shape in that piece. These are very intellectual ideas, that we're putting onto it. We're not playing the piece and asking it, and listening to just the melody and saying, well, what should happen here? And I think that's because the piece is just very, very simple. Okay, what if we go down to another one? Try this again. Is there anything more active here? Okay. Here we go, horse sense. So I would ask anybody watching, how might you approach this from the very beginning, right? Would you start big? Da da dee da dee dee dum da dee dee dum. That was me trying to sing without dynamic nuance, right? But if we start soft, 1, 2, 3, dim da dee da dee dee dum da dee dee dum. Right? Now we have a shape, and that shape I think also emphasizes it. It helps to emphasize the waltz feeling. Check, check, Dim da dee dum da dee dum da da doo dum da dum. And it goes on to the next page. So I want to look at a couple more, just applying the same idea of just the shape. Oh, I know what I can do. I'll get another method book. Let's see. Here we go. Let's look at the Galliano method book. Okay. Here we have little melodies. Can you see those okay? Make those larger. There we go. Okay. So this one. Number 3 at the very top of the page. So dee da dum. And we won't talk about the left hand yet. And then da dee dum. That's it, right? Up and down. So less, more, more. 1, 2, 1, 2. More, less, less. And then what to do about the left hand? Bum, bum, bum. Or bum, bum, bum. Which do you prefer? Or there at the end, bum, 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 bum. You're going more, less, less, right? Because it's hard to tell from the way the accordion is written, one of the problems with accordion notation. But in this case, we're hearing like G, E, C in the left hand. Right, so bum, bum, bum. So we have again, very, very small, very small petite music, very brief, but we're still adding dynamic variation to it. Let's get to something in this book that's a little more notey. Let's see. We have it. Now all of a sudden it's large. And same thing. Okay, so here we have this one with the dinosaur. Air ancien. Let's see, I'll put it on clarinet. And it says piano here, right? And that's all it says for this line. And I have written some dynamics in there in pencil back in the years ago. And then the second line says mezzo forte, right? And so actually before we get into this, let's go back to the book. Because in the book, Pablo Casals sort of addresses this, or the author does, through Casals. So let's see. Make that small. Yeah, this is good. Okay, so we have. Yeah. Okay, so some more quotes that are in this. Leopold Mozart says, every care must be taken to find and render the effect which the composer had wished to have brought out. Indeed, one must know how to change from soft to loud without directions and of one's accord. So this is Leopold Mozart. I don't know if he's the son of Mozart or a relative. I should know that. Let's Google. Let's find out together. Leopold Mozart. He's the father of Mozart. Okay, should have known that. He's the father of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. So he says that one must know how to change from soft to loud without directions, which I think that's what we're understanding here, and of one's own accord. So, as you like it, each at the right time. Yeah, and for this, in the familiar language of painters, means light and shade. So you're adding light and shade to your composition by adding the dynamics. Okay, and then a guy named Quantz, who I looked up, who's a Baroque flautist and composer, very famous, says good execution must be diversified, so have a variety of it. Light and shadow must be continuously interchanged. So you have to have softs and louds, right? We're understanding light and shadow to mean loud and soft. For in truth, you will never move the listener if you render all the notes at the same strength or same weakness. And I think this is profoundly important for accordion players, I think. We have an instrument which, once we get it going, I think a lot of accordion players tend to just kind of keep it going at a one dynamic and not do a lot of these things that we really associate so much with, I would say, with string instruments especially. I feel like violinists are always creating those dynamic shapes. So Quantz continues to say, if you perform, so to speak, always in the same color, or do not know how to raise or moderate the tone at the proper time. Okay, yeah. All right, so then there's talk of how that this is playing a melody in a natural way. And I'm not sure this is incredibly important as anything other than perhaps a philosophy or a way to support your intentions. This is my sort of editorial on it. But the author goes on to talk about the parallel that in nature, you have day and night, and you have hot and cold, and the tides rise and the tides fall, and you have all these variations, And this Casals quote says, nature never stays at one level. There's a constant vibration. And the author goes on to saying that even in ourselves, there's all this variance. So just saying that, like, the world that exists, that the laws of the natural world are always creating ups and downs, essentially, and we should do that in our music. Okay. So, let's see. Sharing this to be able to realize. This is a good thing. So the author says that one of the fundamental aims of Pablo Casals' teaching was to help people recognize the expressive implication of each phrase, right? And so that's sort of what I was trying to do with that Batter Up, even though it's such a super simple piece, to say, okay, like, what is implied here? And first we have to go to the first principle, which I think is, the more I read and reflect on this book, the more I really appreciate how it is written. It's laid out in a way that is quite orderly, which I think is really good. So the thing that we have to base it upon is, what's the emotional impulse of the phrase, which is a small thing, or the note, which is like the smallest thing, or the movement, which is a bigger thing, or the composition, which is the biggest thing, right? Through the first principle, which is like something only you can do, something only I can do, which is like, okay, I want to feel, I want to play with feeling, I want to unlock my doors and, make my bigs big and my smalls and my happy's happy and my sad's very sad. And then with that, then we say, okay, well, then how does this phrase do that? How can I play in a way where this phrase does that more? And a lot of the examples, I think, or maybe where this book sort of fails in contrast to, I think, a lot of the music that I play and am interested in and that I share with students, not all, but a lot, is that this is classical music, I think. I was about to say classical music tends to be much more melodramatic, but maybe that's not true at all, Maybe that actually is very, very not true. Maybe then bebop, but certainly not more melodramatic than tango music, and maybe more melodramatic than musette music as far as variety of emotions conveyed. What's my point here? Well, just that, I think the point that I was trying to make, I should just abandon, because I'm not sure that I agree with it as I think it more and more through. I think this does apply to everything. It's true, maybe to greater and lesser degrees, or the application may end up being that you're in a tango piece, you might have a really, really gigantic, ferocious thing, and then a really, really romantic, sweet, gooey thing. And you might not have that same range of change in, say, in say what? St. Louis blues, maybe, for example. But you certainly would have a range of change. And you would want to find and create contrast, I think, and that'll be fun to do pretty soon in this live stream, is just to listen to stuff, Okay, so connecting things. I am connecting first chapter, second chapter to put together other ideas of our live stream and my own pedagogy, my own method, for coming to music. So what's the feeling of the thing, or what are some possible feelings? We can try a lot of different things because we're alive, and the way I feel right now is different than how I felt 15 minutes ago, probably. And tomorrow, how I'm going to feel is different. But I'm going to sit in the same chair. I'm going to look out the same window. Okay. So Casals says the fundamental aim was to create to help students recognize the expressive implications of each phrase, and then to fully realize them through, here's a list of a few things, which I think is great. And I put this in the little email that I sent out today, that when we have set music, when we have music, which a lot of accordion players play, my tradition has always been different because I started as a early teenager. I started playing jazz music on the piano, and so that tradition is always about sort of always making things. It's very lead sheet based or very learning by ear. So then you have a thin skeleton structure, and then the skills are very much spent on learning. I could put this chord shape there, that chord shape there. I could put this ornament. I could do this, that. There's a lot more spontaneous composition. Which this still applies to. These basic fundamental things apply to, but especially in the case of playing stuff where, like when you're a student learning out of a method book or you're learning off of a piece of sheet music, a lot of times I think the question is, well, where do I fit into this? How do I become more expressive? We have, Casals summarizes this into four areas. The one that this chapter is about and that we're talking about today is dynamic variety. The second one that we're not going to really address today is rhythmic flexibility. What the heck does that mean, rhythmic flexibility? So, Zipodom, zipabam bam bam badum badum bam 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 bam. Or di da di dum 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 da dum da dum dum. It would be the ability to add some rubato, or to add some rhythmic speeding up and slowing down. Tango music has a ton of this in it, and a lot of romantic classical music does. Baroque music, a lot of Baroque music doesn't have as much, but classical and romantic music definitely have a lot of it. Players like composers like Chopin would be a great sort of epitome if you think of that rhythmic flexibility there. So there's a list of four. The next one is tone color, and the next one is intonation. And tone color and intonation, I think, are things which are a lot harder and more mysterious on the accordion. In the cinema method of Jacques Mornay, they talk about the variance of the touch. This goes hand in hand with the idea of different articulations, but they're different. So variance of touch, meaning to play lightly on the surface of the keys, or to play all the way down, to press all the way down, or to play in various places in between. And to me, it seems that that's the closest that the accordion can get to tone color. And when you listen to Natalie Bouchek's play, she has masterful control, and she uses them to great effect, to great expressive effect. not as easy. And I'm new to that. I've known of these ideas for about a year, so I'm still very new. So I can't really comment too much on that, and that's not the purpose of today. Intonation, to me it seems like intonation is not something that the accordionist can use for expression. I could be wrong. If anybody has an idea in the chat, let me know. Hey Birdie Wooster, welcome. Okay. So of those four, that we can do on music without changing the notes, right? Just changing how we are playing the notes. The dynamics, the author says the dynamics was the most immediate and elemental way. Then going back to the idea of the design, if the design goes up, we must add a little more tone. If it goes down, a little less tone. And then talking about long notes also. So if we have a long note, we want to do something with the long note. Either make it crescendo or make it decrescendo. So here, let's take another melody here. Let's go back to this. How did I do that? Right like this. All right. And let's go to something more interesting in this method book, which there is some stuff. Okay, how about this one? La voz a papa. So if we start by saying, okay, what's the first principle here, right? What are we trying to accomplish? We could look at the illustration. That gives us a clue, but we don't necessarily have to do that. Let's hear the melody first, and then we might come up with an idea. Put on the two middle here. Okay, so that's the melody. I should have pulled that down a little bit more so you can see. Again, it's for learning. Very simple piece. So to me, I hear a lot of question and answers, calls and response. It sounds like one thing is getting said, somebody's saying something and then somebody's saying something back. So as far as following the design of that, and again, we have a mezzo forte marking, and that's it. That's all that's there. So first I might say, well, I'm just going to practice following the design, and that's it. So I start louder. Sorry, here. Softer. Softer. Louder. Softer. Louder. Softer. And louder. Softer. Softer. Louder. Softer. Louder. Louder. Softer. Something like that. And what I'm thinking about is that each note has an identity. Each note has a volume identity, a dynamic identity. So that C, which is the first note, that is going to get a little softer. So listen to it. Starts, and what we hear at the beginning is the identity of the note. We say, oh, that was a mezzo forte note. I hold that for a moment, and then in the life of that quarter note, it's going to get softer. And I describe this to my students like an elevator. So that mezzo forte is on the 4th floor, and it's going to the elevator is going to ride down to the 3rd floor. And then when it hits the 3rd floor of dynamics, that's when it's going to change to the note B, which is the next note. So, change. This is going to decrescendo. Do you hear that? Softer. Softer. An alternative would be where it's like I've got ba da da da, right? It's hard to do that on the accordion also, but it sounds weird. It sounds very abrupt that way. I think this way where the end of the note has a dynamic movement. There's a movement, not of the note changing, but of the volume changing. So that dynamic yeah? Okay. Now, addressing the long held note, because that's sort of where we left off in the Pablo Casals chapter. The longer held notes, which are not super long, but long enough for us in this example, are the dotted half notes. So if I start louder, softer, softer, so what I tried to do that time when I played it is those long held notes, I tried to give them a shape. In the case of the second measure and the sixth measure, I wanted to make that crescendo up, but not end on the crescendo. So it has to come down again because it's going to end, because that's the end of the phrase. And if I end on the tension without relaxing the tension at all, it ends up being very, very abrupt, very harsh. And it doesn't accomplish what we want to accomplish. It's not, I don't think it's aesthetically beautiful in a musical way. See, so we can make the tension and then relax it to get us out of the phrase. It's like most of the time when we end a phrase, we want to relax the tension at the end of the phrase. So I start big, and I think about starting bigger, and the idea that I'm going to get softer. So I know I want bigger air in the left arm. 2, 3, and 2, 2, 3, and 2 and 3 and 2. 2, 3, and I could even press that. So you can sometimes you can also like a feint in boxing where you look like you're going to do something and then you kind of dodge out at the last second. So if I take let's see, which measure, how do I show this? Let's see. There? Yeah, where I'm highlighting the Mi 7. I'm going to get louder and louder, but when I hit the E, that's the last note of that phrase. Let's see if I can do that better. Let's see. Right? So instead of making it go the whole way in a straight dynamic, I can get louder, dun, da, da, bum, which I think has a lot of emotional effect to it. 3. I wouldn't want to do it over and over again because it kind of ruins it. But and here on that this is the last phrase, I could do the reverse. Since I've been practicing the shapes, it's what is reflected back to us when we start trying stuff, you know? So much of creation is experimentation and observation, and then conclusion, you know, based on what was this like? Did I like it? Did I not? So on that last phrase, I might go, which is the inverse. It's like an inverse rainbow. So as we're putting dynamic variation in it, but instead of following as I go up, as I follow the pitch of the phrase up, I get louder. In this case, I'm going to get softer. And to me, there's so much more movement in that. And I think it's really a very cool thing that dynamics have movement in them. You know, you can feel it. Da, dum, da, dum, that dum, da, dum. You can feel it wanting to pull you there, you know? Okay. All right. So, had that. Let's listen to something. Let's go here. And then here. Okay, yeah, I thought this was cool. From 1966, conductor Herbert von Karajan, Schumann Symphony No. 4 in D major. It's 25 minutes long, so we'll probably just listen to the first movement. Yeah, cool. This is I guess this is the Berlin Philharmonic? I'm not sure. It looks like it is based on this comment. Oh, you can't see that. But based on a comment below. All right. And to connect this, I would say listen for, as you listen for the shapes of the phrases, you know, and in orchestra music, it's polyphony. Almost always there's lots of different parts happening, so your ear, you're gonna have a lot of options always to choose from. Try to follow that or listen to bigger things together, you know, and practice listening and see how much of the time the dynamics are following the shape of the phrase, the pitch as it ascends, getting louder, and getting softer as it descends, and notice when it doesn't do that. I muted myself. So here we hear lots and lots of dynamics. The use of the dynamics is sometimes following the shape of the phrase, but not always. And like the part that I just moved to stop and comment on is making these shapes on these held notes. So it's so much more. There's it's the notes. Okay, now this is a perfect time to go over to back to the book and talk about this. So Casals talks about that a chain. He describes it as a chain. Let me find that part. Where is it? Sorry, looking for the exact quote here. Did I grab that? Maybe I didn't put it in my notes. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, each note is a link in a chain. Okay, each note is like a link in a chain, important in itself, and also a connection between what has been and what will be. So, a lot of times with dynamics, I feel like an insight that I have is da, da. What is following the note that we're on in terms of what that dynamic should be? If da was the end of the phrase, then it would make sense that the movement would be down. Da, right? Da. And then maybe there's a breath or a rest or something. Da. Right? But in this case, it's not. It's right next to another note. Da, da. So it lifts us up to the next note. Da, da. I'll hit play again. My singing sucks. I took it back too far. Right? It's like lifting up. So so it's that faint, that where it's getting louder, but it still creates movement. It's bringing the dynamic crescendo is bringing the listener movement into the next thing, but the next phrase is very interestingly not louder. It's not that. And you can feel that something is building. You have these sort of pedals. Da, 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 wherever it's going. Getting bigger. These are all obvious in the sense that all the things I'm pointing out are obvious in the sense that they're in the music that we've heard our entire lives. But as musicians on the accordion, it's important that we listen for them, that we learn through listening, and we change our musicianship. I encourage you all to sing everything as well, because singing is the best method for making it part of the way you're thinking, to change your thinking so that you're not just, oh yeah, remember to do that. It doesn't become very mechanical of what the things to do. It starts to change the way that you hear the music in your head. Okay, let me go back to my notes here. Okay, yeah. Some other cool things that that are mentioned in this chapter. This idea of finding the high point and finding the low point, right? So in terms of the dynamics, when we looked at, let's see, if I go to this, to go back to this, see if I can find something. Okay. So in this example, finding a high point and a low point is very easy and obvious. And what we want to do with them should be up to our taste. We should experiment. So if I take the first phrase here, it's a little bigger. You can see it. I'm constantly getting smaller. There we go. Okay. All right. So we have, right? Where's the highest point? That's the highest point. Where's the lowest point? So the D is the lowest point. Hang on. I can make it all happen. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right, so the D is the lowest point, right? Which might be the softest point. And the C sharp. Do you feel, I think in this case, the idea works very well. Right, because we get to the highest point, and then we relax a little bit, and it in this case, it exactly follows the composed music, I think. I think exactly. Let's try the opposite, and this will be hard for me, so I'm going to do it slow first. So I'm going to try doing the loudest note as the lowest note, and the softest note is the highest note. So I'm going to go slow first. I'm not even sure that read very well. Let's see. Try that again. Let's see. Big. It should be, I think. No. That's it. Yeah. Doesn't work. Doesn't work at all. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's I can't even conceive of it in a different way. Then we have the next phrase here. So then we say, okay, again, where's the lowest note? Where's the highest note? Lowest note is the F sharp. Highest note is the E. And what I'm always thinking about is relaxing that tension. So if the highest point is going to be the loudest in this way of applying the main idea of rainbows from the Pablo Casals book, we have to think of the other side of the rainbow, right? So the rainbow is not, it's not a quarter of an arc or whatever, or a half of an arc. Yeah. It's not this, it's this and this, right? So we say, and that feels really nice. And same thing with the previous phrase. So it's shorter, right? But maybe that's the rainbow also, because I have 3 beats. So maybe I could do so ba ba do da, and make that held note the tailoring of the rainbow. I kind of like the I like that better, but there's possibilities, of course, right? So this idea of finding a high point, finding a low point, looking at it that way, that's good. That's really helpful to us. Thinking of the rainbow shape. So did I start soft and get louder and then get softer again? You don't have to come back down. It doesn't have to be a scientific shape. It's just that there is movement up and there is movement down. The movement down is what gives us that. It's so important, you know. It's like the movement up only exists so that we can feel the movement down again. Without the movement down, the music is really horrible. So the other cool thing that I wanted to share is that the author mentions someone I'd never heard of before named Lottie Lehman. And Lottie Lehman, the authors of this book, says that these ideas are really similar to Lottie Lehman's ideas of her teaching. I think that they were, age-wise, they were contemporaries. And he has a quote from Lottie Lehman that says, "Never forget that a phrase must always have a main word." So she was a singer. She was a classical, like, opera and repertory singer. And so for her, she's singing lyrics. Never forget that a phrase must always have a main word, and with it, a musical high point, okay? And I wonder, my intuition tells me that high point might just mean emphasis point, but emphasis doesn't always have to be loud. The emphasis can be soft. You know, in a string of loud, the emphasis is the softest note there, often, and vice versa. And then she goes on to say, or is quoted, "Singing should never be just a straight going ahead. It should have a sweeping flow. It should glide in soft rhythmical waves which follow one after another harmoniously." And guess what? There's YouTube videos of Lottie Lehman. So let's check out Lottie Lehman, and let's see if we hear, or let's look for, in Lottie's singing, where the phrases have a main word, and with that word, a musical high point. I did not pre-screen any of these videos of Lottie Lehman, so I'm going to be looking just as hard as you guys to find the answer. There's a video of her teaching, but there are videos of her singing. Let's see. Strauss, Turandot, yeah, master classes in Lieder, that's cool. Let's see, well, do we have video of her? That would be the most fun. I think we have video of her teaching but not performing, I don't think. Okay. All right, let's do the Strauss. Okay. I don't know. German. I don't speak German. The definitely syllables, right? But I'm not sure I could understand what was the main word, but I could hear the syllables that were the loudest or most emphasized parts of the phrase, for sure. It is an interesting thing. I don't listen to a whole lot of this genre of classical voice music, or really any classical voice music. Cool. All right, let's see what else. Oh yeah, cool. So here's a short little story of a cellist, or from a cellist who became a student of Casals, and he talks about meeting Pablo Casals. Yeah, this will be fun to watch a few of these. I have to be careful and skip the very beginning because I suspect that it's copywritten. Let's see. Start right here.
Casals sent a letter back saying he was not teaching. He was busy with refugees from the Franco government, and he didn't want to teach.
This must have been right after the Spanish Civil War. Is that okay, so late 30s?
No, it was later than that.
40s.
After I'd come out of the service myself.
Oh yeah, you were in the Navy during the Second World War.
Yeah, that's right. But when he refused to teach me, I took the next troop transport to France, and I just went down to Prague and knocked on his door.
Really?
And asked him whether he would listen to me play. And he said, yes, come back tomorrow and I'll... but he asked for a sum of money for the exiles from Franco.
Oh.
And I thought that was very well worth it.
Sure.
And I played for him for about almost an hour, and not a word, no criticism. Finally, he said, all right, now put away your cello and we'll talk.
Huh.
And he said, I believe what you need most of all is the association with a great artist, because I believe in the apprentice system. It's not only the instrument, but it's the artist. You learn so much through association, personal association with the artist. And I don't know who to send you to. So if you agree to stay for at least 6 months and take lessons several times a week, I'll teach you.
Wow.
And that, of course, was exactly what I wanted.
Of course.
And but that was his attitude. He didn't take students. He took people he could relate to as friends almost, you know. I had the feeling that he was rather old at the time. He was 70 years old. I say rather old.
As you approach your 92nd birthday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Here's another part. Let's see, I have to skip that beginning.
Discussion of technique with Casals. He actually admired my ability on the instrument. He didn't admire my musical instincts, because at one point we were talking and he said, you have in your playing, Casals said, you have in your playing a little bit of Fritz Kreisler, and I don't admire that.
Oh, I see.
So there was immediately this feeling that he was not happy with my musical interpretation. You know, I can tell you a story about Casals. My first piece that I worked with him was the D minor suite of Bach. And he sat opposite me, and he said, now I would like you to copy all my bowings, all my fingerings, and listen to me play. I'll play the piece for you, and you just mark your music, so that when you come and play it for me, it's my ideas. And this went on for about 3 weeks, many lessons, to the point where I played the whole D minor suite, and I had all his fingerings and bowings, and he was quite pleased. And we would play it together, and it sounded like one cello. I even tried to imitate his vibrato.
Oh my God.
Which is not so easy to do. But he finished playing and smiled, and I said, and I was rather frightened because I had something to say to him which I wasn't sure he was going to take lightly. I said, Maitre Casals, now I have become just a second copy, and there's nothing original about what I'm doing. And he said, well, I'll show you. Put your cello down. And he played the D minor suite. He changed every fingering. He changed every bowing. He played a performance that were an astoundingly beautiful performance. And when he finished, he smiled. He said, that's your lesson. If you have worked the suite and you know exactly what you want to do with it, then you have the privilege of changing everything and making it into an improvisation.
Cool. I like that a lot. That is really cool. I like that is the endpoint, that the learning endpoint. So first you have to have a way through it and master that, and then you can improvise on it. That's very cool. I haven't thought about that before, or thought about it that way before. Okay, I think there's a third video here. I'm interested. Yeah, these are great. Let's check this one out. The language of emotion. That's very much what we're doing today.
Me was that a bowing or a fingering can come out of a musical need, that you choose these things depending on what you're trying to say, the color you're looking for, the timing you want. So the idea of first you learn the notes and then you learn the music is not really, that's not the way you approach. No, that's not the way I approach either, but it's still a very common way to look at the playing of the instrument.
Well, I keep thinking that for me now, after so many years of teaching, of playing, making music, being on stage, music is a language, and a language which can be understood by people who don't play their language and make music themselves. You can transmit emotions from one person to another with your playing. And you can...
Thanks, Theremin Player. Thanks for checking out the stream.
Reactions. People are so moved by music.
It's really the function of music.
Yes. And so I've always thought of it as a language, and a language which can be understood. You get as close as you possibly can in your playing to being able to transmit the page of music into emotions. This is what I mean. I meant when I show you the slow. If you do, it doesn't have the same effect as it. And now, You hear the change in,
I can't even talk. It's so beautiful.
and that's what I try to teach, that it's a language, and you can bring people to the same emotion which you feel. So they have exactly the same feeling
So you,
as you do when you play.
so you're emotionally involved as you play.
Oh, surely, oh, surely. You have to be. Otherwise, it's not natural.
And have you ever thought about how you have that emotional involvement and still think clearly and listen clearly?
Oh, yes. If I'm playing something which is, of course, if you're playing I mean, if you're playing something technical like that, you haven't time. You haven't much time except to have a feeling of dexterity and life in the hands.
Yeah.
To
But you have kind of a centered brain,
Yes.
right? It's a centered brain, yeah. Well, you sound completely fantastic.
well, I'm
Very
enjoying
moving.
it, Paul. I'm enjoying it. It's for me what keeps me interested, and I hope I'll still be doing it next year. I mean,
I'm sure you will.
if I can, I will. I will try to enjoy it as much as I have all my life.
Yeah.
And
So-
you, I hope, will have the same feeling.
Well.
But you have a long way to go.
If I'm playing whole bows when I'm 92 years old, I'll be a happy man, you know.
Good. Good.
92, pretty cool. This guy Bernard Greenhouse, Finding Your Voice. Let's see. I have some stuff in a Pablo Casals playlist also. I have a bunch of stuff here. Unfortunately, a lot of these use like copyrighted music. Let's see. Let's check out this one. This one's short. The Brandenburg Concerto number 5.
We shall.
Let's see what he has to say.
Let us try. Too much. Huh? Only the two first notes, or every 4. But let us try. For me, is normal, because yeah, I always found that abnormal, unmusical. I always found it that. This is the way the Casella used to speak. We should talk. Ta 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 ta. Casella used to. We shall go there. That E is weak. La di da yam pam. da re re ra yum bum,
Yum.
and then la ra re ra ra ee dee ya re. Now, dee dee ra re, ra re ee dee ya re.
Ida.
Ya ra ra re, ra ra re ra ra re, da da re ra re ra ee. Yeah, I think it's much better. I think it is.
All
You
right.
see, everywhere is
It's a little bit of him rehearsing that. Let's see. Some musical moments, 1926. We'll start with a little bit of this. We won't have time to get too far into this.
Pause. I know. Pause. And pause. Pause. Yeah.
You're welcome, Tom. See you next week.
No. Bang, 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 bang.
Okay, that's fun. So, anybody still watching? Did you find the rainbows there? Were you finding the rainbows that Pablo Casals himself was playing? So this will conclude our today's live stream, which was about the profound importance of dynamics, and also chapter 2 of the Pablo Casals book. Next week, I'll probably do a live stream. I hope. There's a small chance I won't. If I do, it will definitely be on chapter 3, which is only 19 pages, which I'm quite curious about. It's called Diction for Instrumentalists. And in our live streams, we've talked about parts of language. I've theorized my connections, between language, between these plosives, da, da, pa, pa, ta, ta, oo, ee, I, the vowels and the consonant sounds, and how that relates to all music, and then specifically the accordion. And I'm very curious to read what Pablo Casals, how Pablo Casals relates it in his own way. Thanks for spending this couple hours with me. It was wonderful. Thanks BGR. Oh, thanks Accordion Heather. Okay. Glad to see you guys are watching. Have a wonderful week. If it's hot where you are, stay cool and enjoy music.